Welcome into this week's edition of the Coaches Show. We're all about basketball and baseball and softball right before we hit spring break. Joining me first, as always, for our women's basketball segment is our women's head coach, Dr. Britta Belanger. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Coach, unfortunately, you've played two and you've dropped both of those. And I think one of those, you look at it and you go, man, we had some chances. You played really well in that game. That was the 60-59 loss against Gulf Coast. And then this past Monday, you went on the road and just didn't have it against East Central, dropped that one 47-31. Let's talk first about that sophomore night against Gulf Coast. Probably one of the best efforts you've had in a loss all season. We were just talking a second ago, Cam Pruitt had 31. I'm sure we'll talk more about her. If she'd have had 33, would have found a way to win. It was going to be a career high either way, but that's kind of how this game was. It kind of felt like your girls were up to the task and they answered the call, and if they just had one more thing go their way, we'd have found a way to win this one.
Yeah, I was really pleased with how well we played against Gulf Coast. Obviously, Cam Pruitt was really good, scored 31, but we had a lot of other players in that game who were really good, and the stat line may not have shown how good they were, but they played so well defensively, or they rebounded so well, or they did something so well that put us in a position to be able to win that game. Gulf Coast is one of the best teams in our league and by far one of the most talented teams in our league, and I thought we did a really nice job of guarding them. I thought we did a really nice job of executing down the stretch and getting big baskets when we needed them. I thought Maddie Mitchell was really good. I thought she did a really good job of leading our team and protecting the ball and handling the ball. It was sophomore night, and I knew that we would be dialed up because we have 9-10 sophomores, so we were ready for this game. Also, Gulf Coast, we all know that they're one of the best teams in our league, and we have a lot of kids from that coastal area. So they're always, Gulf Coast is always one they kind of star on the calendar to be ready for, and I felt like we were really ready for this one. And it was disappointing that we weren't able to, get that one extra point, make that one extra free throw, or get that one extra basket to get the win in this one.
You look at it, they outscored us 16-11 in the first, outscored us 14-13 in the second. They had a 30-24 lead at half. We outscored them in the second half, 19-18 in the third, 16-12 in the fourth. Again, just one or two more points in either one of those quarters or any of those quarters, and the Lady Wolves probably get a win instead of a 60-59 loss. We just mentioned a second ago, Cam Pruitt led everybody in scoring, 31 points, a new career high, 10 rebounds, posted a double-double in her final game in Mullen. What we do know is her final game in Mullen now. Your next best scorer was Zion Nelson with 9 and 5. Maddie Mitchell had 8 and 3. I think one of the highlights for me in this game was having Cam's family kind of behind the bench, and they had that whiteboard, and every time she made a stat, they were changing it and displaying it. I was like, that was a fun night, and it was a really fun atmosphere too. I think that was a fun way to be able to send all of our sophomores out with an atmosphere like that.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were behind the bench doing the stats and stuff until I went back and watched the game, and I was like, what is going on behind the bench? And that was her sister, and it was nice to have all of our kids. We have so many sophomores. They all had families here, and it was just a really good night for us to be able to celebrate their careers. It would have been a much better night if we could have gotten a win. But, again, we knew Gulf Coast was going to be a very tough opponent. We knew that it was going to be a game where we were going to have to play well. And I felt like we played well. And that's what I told him after the game. I said, I feel like we played well enough to win this game. But 2 or 3 little small, a turnover here, an offensive rebound there, something like that really hurt us big. And that's happened to us several times. Overall this season, if you look at our losses, we've lost 5 or 6 games by a combined less than 10 points. And that speaks volumes of this team, especially with the amount of injuries and things that we've had this season.
Yeah, and you go to this past Monday, you went over to Decatur, you dropped this one 47-31, and you just mentioned it. Talk about how this team has had injuries. Feels like an injury that happened on Thursday kind of came back and bit you on this one. You look at it, 16 points in the first quarter, and then from there on out, it just wasn't our way. And, you kind of can't go dance around it. Keila Hobson not playing in this game really feels like it made a difference for you. And that's something that you've had to overcome all year. We've played without probably 2 of our best guards. They've both been injured all year. But when you lose that third guard, it really feels like it made a difference.
Yeah, Akila Hobson got hurt right before the halftime in the Gulf Coast game. And again, I took a breath at halftime and went, okay, how is this going to go after the half without her? Because she is our backup point guard and we rely on her to score. But mostly we rely on her to give Maddie Mitchell a break and be able to handle the ball and take some of that pressure off of her. And in the Gulf Coast game, it didn't affect us. But in the East Central game, it had a huge effect on us because Maddie Mitchell had to play 40 minutes. There was no one for us to, we had assigned 4 point guards. Rachel and I assigned 4 point guards, and 3 of the 4 are now hurt, so we're down to 1. So it's a little bit frustrating because we had the depth at that position, and now we don't. And thank goodness we have Maddie Mitchell, and she's in great condition, and she can play 40 minutes. But asking a player like her to play 40 minutes, who is also one of our best defenders, when we ask her to defend their best player, it just makes it really, really difficult. And that happened to us at East Central. The score was 31-47. When you hold a team to 47 points, you are supposed to win. But when you can't get the ball to go through the basket, you can't win in anything. In any sport or any game, when you don't score points, you can't win. And in the second half, we couldn't score points. We shot 16% from the field, which is just atrocious.
Yeah, and you kind of want to quantify that statement. It wasn't for lack of trying to get shots or anything like that. We got shots and we got good looks. They just didn't fall that game, and that I think that's the part that frustrates you the most. Didn't get to watch all the game. East Central had some issues with their broadcast and those kind of things. But from what I did see, it just kind of was frustrating being at home watching. I'm going, we're getting good looks, and they are just not falling tonight.
It was very frustrating on the sideline, too, because this was one of those games where I felt like nothing went our way. Shots wouldn't fall, loose balls didn't go our way. We tried every defense we had in our pocket, and we couldn't, and again, 47 points. The stats say we guarded pretty well, but I didn't feel like we could get timely stops. Nothing worked. And, it was one of those helpless feelings on the sidelines where we're doing everything we can, and our kids are playing hard. They brought their effort. They played hard. We just couldn't get anything to fall. It just wasn't our night. And in basketball, sometimes you have those nights. And so hopefully that was our night at East Central, and we're past that, and now we're going to go into the playoffs and have that past us.
Well, as you mentioned, the good news is the Lady Wolves do get into the playoffs. They're in the Region 23 playoffs, going as the 11 seed, going to go play the LSU Eunice Lady Bengals. This is a team that you've already played twice. You've split games. You played a true neutral site game over at Southwest, beat them 68-55. Went over to their place back on December 4th and dropped that one 73-59. But what are you expecting out of this bunch making this return trip, and what are you expecting out of ours?
They're a very good team. In fact, I've told people that I think they're the best team in our region. They're better than anybody in our conference because of the way they play. They play so fast. They play so up and down. They have so much depth. And having to go to their gym, which we're not super familiar with, I'm thankful that we've played there one time already this season, so we will know what we're getting into. We have several kids from that area, so we'll have some fans and things like that. The speed of the game is going to be hard for us because they do try to play so fast, and we've lost some of our depth. We're down to 9, so we're going to have to manage the clock wisely. We're going to have to sub a lot to slow them down. We're going to have to, use our timeouts very wisely to give Maddie Mitchell and Cam Pruitt and some of those players we rely on to play a lot of minutes some rest. I think we'll be ready because it's playoff basketball, and this is what we've worked for all season. This is what we played 26 or 27 games to get to. I'm excited to play them. I'm excited that we've already played them twice. It made the prep work easier, and it made it easier for our kids to know, hey, here's who we're playing, here's what they do. Playing somebody like Itawamba, who if we win this game, we'll have to go play them again. We've already played them one time, but we're just not as familiar with them. We don't know their players. We went there in early January. So I just think this is a pretty good matchup for us, even though I think it'll be tough, especially on the road. That was what was so disappointing about the East Central losses. Had we won that game, instead of going in as the 10 seed and going on the road, we would have been the 8 seed and we would have hosted here. It still would have been hard here, especially with our injuries, but at least we would have been on our floor and stuff. And so that was what was disappointing about the East Central loss. But I think we'll be ready. I think that LSU Eunice is primed to be beaten. They haven't lost a game since January. They've played in their Louisiana conference, which is not nearly as strong as our Mississippi conference. They haven't played the amount of competition we've played. We've played Gulf Coast. We've played Itawamba. We've played Pearl River. We've played great competition. So I think that has prepared us for this game.
And the good news is a lot of those teams you've played close. Like you mentioned, a lot of those losses are 1-2 possession games. Right. And, that makes you feel confident. And a lot of those being on the road, too, makes you feel confident going on the road in this situation. So. I think the good news is despite what happens in this game, whether you finish 14-12 or you win this one and you go 15-11 and you keep going, it's going to be a winning season for you. A winning season on the overall side. 6-8 in conference play, not a bad mark. Again, considering everything this team has had to fight for. We'll do a season wrap up with you once the season is done. That'll be after spring break. For folks at home, we will not have a show next week because the school is on spring break. School's closed, no coaches show. We all take the break together and enjoy some relaxation. So, Coach, thanks for joining me. We look forward to talking to you no matter what happens, and look forward to hopefully talking maybe about a Region 23 championship after we get back as well too. So because next week, beat Itawamba, you go on and play at the highest remaining seed. winner of the conference was Pearl River, so maybe a trip back to Poplarville in the future for the Lady Wolves. So stick with us through the break. We have men's basketball coming up, along with baseball and softball after this. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Now we're on to men's basketball, and joining me now is our head men's basketball coach, Randy Bolden. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Hey, I appreciate you having me.
And Coach, obviously, since the last time we've talked, you've played a couple. You've gone 1-1 in those, including dropping your sophomore night to Gulf Coast, a very close match, 65-59. But the good news is we get to talk about a regular season road win against East Central, 77-62. We're going to go back and talk about that Gulf Coast game first, though. Your thoughts overall on this one? I thought the guys showed a lot of really good fight in this one. I think they were up to the task against, again, one of the better teams in the league. Again, we've seen it. Those top four teams, yeah, we lost to all of them, but, man, we were up to the challenge, and we were right there with all four of them, and this was the case again.
Well, yeah, and the thing about it came down to 1 or 2 possession game, and down the stretch, we just had some miscues and wasn't able to overcome the hump. But our effort and our desire to win, I thought I was pleased with our guys.
And you look at this one, they outscored us 30-20 in the first half. In the second half, we actually outscored them 36-35. Unfortunately, needed to be a little bit wider margin there, but that's how you get that 65-59 stat line there. But you look at the individual lines. Tyrell Bowles had 17 and 7 in this one, where his bigger impact was 4 blocks. There were 2 or 3. They thought they were getting easy layups and said Tyrell said, "Not in my house, not tonight." Swatted them, and I think bigger was he swatted them into the field of play. We were able to get some transition buckets out of those. Morris Hammond gave you a double-double in this one. I think it's the first one he's had all year. 15 points, 10 rebounds. He was huge in this one. Dylan Craigett gave you 10 points as well, too. Moo gave you 8 and 9, floated with a double-double again. And Coy had 5 and 6 in this one for you. And your other scorer was Caleb Crozier. He had 4. That's where you get all your points from. But, again, we've really seen these are the guys we talked about all year. They've kind of been the engine that makes everything run, and they stepped up for you.
Yep, they did. And like you say, the top 4 teams, with it being Southwest and, of course, Etowah and all those guys, and we've been right there. But it's playoff time, so it's time for us to kind of turn the page and be able to get over that hump.
Yeah, I think that the feather in your cap is you sit there and go, well, hey, one of those 4, we beat them. We beat them at our place, but, hey, we still got to win over one of those top 4 seeds.
Absolutely. And I like where we are. I think our guys are confident in what we're doing, and they're confident in their play. So we just got to go out and execute and do what we need to do.
Yeah. And then this past Monday you went on the road and went and faced a team where you kind of felt like you kind of owed them a little bit after they came over to our place and really dominated that one. You win this one by double digits, 15 points, 77-62. Your guys answered the bell from start to finish. Talk about how good it was to go on the road and end the season there with a win, knowing that making the playoffs, we're going to have to go on the road. So it's good to say, hey, our last one, it was on the road, and we found a way to win.
Well, it felt really good to go on the road and beat them, being that, for one reason, they came to our place early in November just to see how much our team has grown from that standpoint. It was a good feeling. I thought we came out in the first half. We were aggressive, and we kind of took control of the game in the first half and carried that over into the second half.
You look at the box line. We outscored them 35-32 in the first half. Dominated them in the second half, 42-30. That's where you get 77-62. Individual lines. Tyrell Bowles had the best game he has had in a Wolves uniform. Career high 35 points, 14 rebounds, a double-double. It's not a career high in rebounds. He had 16 earlier this year. He's had 15 a couple times as well, too, but still a monster game from him. Mustafa Salik, stepped up for you, gave you 12 and 2. LeBron Deal came off the bench, gave you 11. One guy who really stepped up for you in this one because Coy Williams was out on this one was Dylan Craigett. He flirted with a double-double, had 7 points, 11 rebounds. Morris Hammond gave you 9 and 5. You had guys really step up for you in this one and answer the bell when one of their guys was down.
Absolutely, and I'll tell you this: when Tyrell plays like he played Monday night, it's going to be hard to beat us. And I think he's catching that stride. And if he continues to play this way, we're going to be a team that a lot of people not want to see. And again, for Dylan to step up and take on the role he hadn't been playing and to have 11 assists, that speaks volume of his work ethic and what he's been doing here lately for us.
Yeah, just to quantify, Tyrell was 14 of 17 from the field, 7 of 10 from the line. So when you're shooting 70 to 80% from the field, you're having a good day, especially when you're at 17 shots. So the good news is the Wolves have qualified for the playoffs. We got that 11 seed. Yep. We know we're going to the 6th seed. That is Pearl River. That is a bunch that we played just not too long ago, February 9th. We dropped an 8-point game there. That was one of those that we talked about. It was a lot closer than that line says it was. This was one of your best efforts on the road all year, you felt like. But what are you expecting out of the Wildcats when we go over there Thursday at 6:30 at Poplarville?
Well, we're a confident team. Our guys believe they're supposed to win. They prepare to win, and we feel like we can go over there and win, and that's what we're expecting to do. We prepared all year for this time, playoff time. We're fortunate to be in the playoffs, so we're going to try to make the best of it.
Yeah, and the good news is, I think the even better thing is you can sit there and tell people, hey, in our first year, we had a winning season. 14 and 13, 7 and 7 in conference play. Hey, that's a winning season, and no matter what, win or lose on Thursday, it's still going to be a winning season for you. I think, not being a first-year coach, even in this conference, but being your first year here, that's another feather in your cap, it feels like, especially given the circumstances with you coming in late and having to put the team together late.
Yeah, that is quite an accomplishment. But the ultimate, we wanna move on. I mean, hey, we can't see anything but Pearl River. Having a winning season, that's great, but we're here to win championships, and so Pearl River's then the way. So it starts with them.
We will go ahead and let everybody know if the Wolves do win on Thursday, since we won't get to talk to Coach.
When we win.
When we win. When we win. Yeah, there we go. When we win on Thursday, since we won't get to talk to Coach again until after spring break, no matter what, the Wolves will go on and play at Jones in Ellisville on Saturday. I believe that game will be early afternoon, more than likely. Past that, it would go to whatever highest seed is remaining. We'll give you all the information we have throughout that. That'll be while we're on spring break as well, too. So we'll give you all the information as we have it available. We'll give you streaming information for Thursday as well, too. That will wrap up our men's basketball segment. Coach, we look forward to talking to you after spring break. And let's hope we maybe talk about a Region 23 championship for the Wolves and maybe a trip to Hutch in the future as well, too.
That's exactly what we're looking to do.
So looking forward to it. Again, that'll wrap up men's basketball. Coming down the pipe after this, we've got baseball and softball. We'll find out how the Wolves and Lady Wolves have done over their past few and preview theirs all the way through spring break.
At Copiah Lincoln Community College, you'll find a family of instructors and staff who truly care about your success, and not to mention a really fun college experience too. Co-Lin was recently ranked number 1 in the state for student success. So whether you need to start or finish your college degree, take classes on one of our 3 campuses or online, Co-Lin is the place to be.
Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Joining me now is our head softball coach, Meleah Howard. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Good to be here.
And Coach, since the last time we've talked, you've played 6, and unfortunately you went 5-1 in those. And well, the good thing is we got to talk about the loss first. If we got to talk about it, we'll go ahead and get it out of the way. You went on the road to Baton Rouge. You split a doubleheader, including a 9-8 loss in extra innings, and then a 12-2 win in 5 innings. Talk about the day. Talk about the first game first. Obviously, a game where you went back and forth. You dug yourself a hole early. You were able to dig back out of that, forced extras, and unfortunately, they were able to just make a couple extra plays at the end.
Yeah, not our best softball, but that's bound to happen. Every day's not going to be a great day. But hats off to Baton Rouge. They played well. They hit the ball well. And, they wanted it more than we did in this game.
Yeah, you look at it. I just mentioned it. They scored 4 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 apiece for us in the third and fourth. 2 for them in the 5th, 3 in the 6th for us, 1 in the 8th for us, 2 in the 8th for them. That's how you get the 9 to 8 line. You had 11 hits in this one, including Breeley going 3 for 5 with 4 RBI. She had a home run in this one as well, too, I believe. Yeah, her and Morgan Chisholm both with a home run. I told somebody, I said, if you tell me Breeley Phillips is going 3 for 5 with 4 RBIs, I like our odds of winning this game. Unfortunately, again, it just wasn't in our favor. But the good news is that was the first game of the day. You were able to have a little bit of a come to reality meeting with the girls. Say, hey, we can't just show up and win games. We got to go out and earn it. And that's exactly what you did in game 2. You turned it around and you beat them 12-2. Your thoughts on how the girls were able to bounce back and find a way to get not just a win, but a big win in the second game?
I mean, I was definitely proud of how we responded. Nobody was happy about losing the first game and in extra innings. But we responded well, and we actually played how we were supposed to play in the second game.
You had 9 hits in this one, including a couple from Breeley, 2 from Brooklyn Wren, 1 each from Yari Van Blaircom, Annie Poole, Maddie McCrory, Morgan Chisholm, Stella Roberts. Home runs from Breeley Phillips and Stella Roberts in this one. Again, that's going to be a kind of consistent theme, home run from Breeley Phillips this week. She had a bunch of them. Mm-hmm. But your thoughts on, again, how good it was to see the offense really kind of bounce back. Not that they hit bad in game 1, but you hit a lot at players in game 1, and in game 2 you were able to find some holes.
Yeah, like I said, game 1 we hit a lot of hard balls, but they were right at somebody. And then we had some at bats that were not as good with runners in scoring position. And on game 2, we capitalized. We had runners in scoring position, we got them in, and that was the difference.
Yeah, Addison Lindley got the start, and this one was able to bounce back. She took the tough luck loss in game 1 in extras, but got the win here with a couple of innings of scoreless start, 1 hit, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Ava Browder was able to bounce back in this one as well, too. She got the start in game 1 and really struggled in that one. But in this one, she gave up 2 unearned runs on 4 hits and 2 innings. And you used a pitcher that we haven't got to talk about this year. Mm-hmm. Maddie McCrory came in and gave you a really solid inning of work, 1 hit, 1 walk, a much better effort out of your pitchers in this game than in game 1.
Absolutely.
And then you fast forward to this past Saturday, and I think people will look at these and maybe be a little bit surprised. I know you and I talked, and we were expecting these games to be very close, and neither one of them were. You swept Chipola, who's been a perennial power. You beat them 9-1 and 14-3. Your thoughts on how the girls were able to really flush that day on Thursday behind them, get ready for these games, and answer the bell?
Well, I think that's softball. Baseball, softball, it's like you have to come ready to play every single time, and you have to produce in key moments. And, the girls understood, hey, we lost that game. It can't happen again. We have to play better softball. Yeah. And we did. Like you said, Chipola's typically a very talented team. I thought we played really well against them. I thought we hit the ball well. I thought we pitched it well, defended it well. We did what we were supposed to do. Yeah, and hats off to Chipola again. They played really well. They hit the ball really well. You and I both talked about that. It was their pitching that kind of let them down, because it'll be evident in game 2 when we talk about the pitching stats how well they hit the ball. We hit the ball really well in game 1. 10 hits, 1 hit from Breeley, 1 from Ayari. Looks like everybody had 1 except for Noelle Lay. She had 2, but 1 from Addison Lindley, Stella Roberts, Morgan Chisholm, Annie Poole, Emily Williams, Brooklyn Wren, all with a hit. Stella Roberts had a home run in this one as well, too. And a complete game win from Addison Lindley. She gave up 1 run on 3 hits, 6 walks, 3 strikeouts. A little tight on that zone gate led to those 6 walks, but a complete game win from her. I think it was good to see Addison come out and start this game and really answer for you. Yeah, and not Addison's best outing, but she still was able to fight through some adversity and get the job done. So I'm proud of her for that. And when you're getting hits from 1 to 9 all throughout your lineup, you're going to win the ball game, and that's what we have to have.
Yeah, and in game 2, you really kind of came out and set the tone early. We scored 10 runs in the first inning. There were 2 3-run home runs in this game. I think we sent 12 batters to the plate before they recorded an out. I think as a coach, it's fun when you see your team go up there and really set that tone early, and you're able to just go, okay, we can relax a little bit in this one.
Oh, yeah, that was fun to watch. If we can put up a 10 spot every inning, I'm on board. Like that just makes it fun to watch. And it was good hits. It was quality at bats. And that is what I love to see. Very proud of our girls for that.
Yeah, 10 runs in the first, 2 in the third, 2 in the fourth. They scored 1 in the second, fourth, and fifth. That's how you get that 14-3 scoreline there. 14 runs on 14 hits, 3 each from Breeley and Yachty. one each from Bailey, one from Aliana Houston, one from Cadence Shepard. Caitlin Malone had a 2-run home run in this one. That was an absolute ball that she just destroyed, and she knew it. She knew she got all of it. One hit from Noelle Lesh, Annie Poole, Stella Roberts, Emily Williams, all with a hit as well, too. Breely Phillips had 2 home runs in this one. Stella Roberts had a home run. I just mentioned Caitlin Malone. So you were hitting the long ball in this one a lot.
Yeah, and, I think we talked about that the very first week, that we have a lot of girls that can hit the long ball, Anybody in our lineup can do it. So, you never know when it's coming.
Ava Browder got the win in the start in this one for you. 3 innings. She gave up an unearned run on 1 hit. Lily Crum came in, pitched an inning, gave up 3 hits, gave up 1 earned run as well. Maddie West came in, gave you an inning, an unearned run on a hit on that one. As I mentioned a second ago, the stat line on this one shows you how well they hit it. There were no strikeouts in this, and I think as a pitching coach, you like to see some strikeouts, but the good news is there were no walks in this one either. So your pitchers didn't fall into the negatives on walks versus strikeouts or anything like that. So, yeah, they put the ball in play, but the defense behind them played really well.
Our defense is solid. Our defense is very solid. Pitchers know that, and I think that helps them pitch with a little bit more confidence, knowing that their defense has their back. But I love the no walks. Like, I can live without strikeouts, but I love the no walks. So, for sure.
And yesterday, on Sunday, we played Lansing. You outscored them 22-3 in 2 games, put up 11 in both of them, 11-0, 11-3. Your thoughts again on how the girls were just able to come out, handle business, kind of get a prep game under their belts, getting ready for the big one this upcoming Wednesday?
Yeah, we started out a little bit slow in game 1. It took us a minute to kind of see the pitcher and learn her a little bit because, we don't know much about Lansing before the game. But once we got it going, we got it going. And, Breely Phillips still seeing the ball really, really well. She had a great day again. And then again, I think if you look at the stat line, I think everybody offensively up and down the lineup contributed, and that's what it takes.
Yeah, 11 runs on 11 hits. Yachty had 3 in this one. Morgan Chisholm had 2. Everybody else had 1. Breely Phillips, Brooklyn Wren, Emily Williams, Stella Roberts, Annie Poole, Noelle Lesh, all with a hit as well, too. Ava Browder got the start in this one, pitched a masterclass in this one, only gave up 3 hits, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Breely had a home run in this one. Annie Poole had a home run in this one. I told somebody I didn't see Annie's off the bat. I heard it because I was talking with somebody, and I turned my head and looked. I said, that's gone. I never even saw her hit the ball, but I heard it and knew immediately she got all of that one. Yeah. I think that one ended up hitting the bottom of the hitting facility. Mentioned it a second ago, another home run for Breely. That was 5 for the week. She hit 600 this week, folks. 5 doubles, 5 home runs, 12 hits overall, something like 12 or 16 RBIs, 12 runs scored. Monster week out of the Lady Wolves third baseman.
Absolutely. She had an amazing week. Extremely proud of her. She had kind of been on the struggle bus a little bit offensively, but that's the name of the game. You got to stay headstrong because sometimes it's going to be tough. You're going to struggle a little bit. And Breely has just stayed mentally tough, and she's bounced back, and she's hotter than ever. And
in game 2, 11 runs on 12 hits. Again, Yachty Van Blaircom, 3 for 3. She was 6 for 6 on the day. She was having a really good day as well, too. Breely Phillips with a pair of hits. Caitlin Malone had 2 hits in this one for you. A hit from Abby Burnett, Maddie McCrory, Landry Loper. A lot of people that you were able to bring in off the bench paid off for you. Morgan Chisholm had a 2-run home run in this one. That was an absolute monster shot as well, too. Emily Williams had a hit as well in this one. You're able to use a couple of pitchers. You're able to give Lily Crum a start. I think it's her first start since maybe the opening weekend. Yes. She did really well in this one. Gave up all 3 runs were earned on 4 hits in 4 innings, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, but a really good line from her. Maddie West came in, gave you 2 innings of scoreless relief, 1 hit, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. So 7-3 strikeout to walk ratio there. That's a pretty good ratio out of that bunch.
Yeah, and we didn't pitch Addison yesterday, trying to rest her a little bit because we do have a big game coming up on Wednesday and then conference. But also trying to get all of the other pitchers some mound time because we know we're going to need them at some point. So I'm overall really proud of our team this week. The 1 loss, not my favorite. But 5-1 against pretty quality teams, I'd say that's a win.
Yeah, and I think maybe one little extra added thing there, you're able to use a pitcher like Maddie. I think that's good because now you've seen what she can go out there and do.
Absolutely.
And if you need her, hey, we've been in a situation where we needed a pitcher where not a lot of people knew a lot about her. It paid off for us last year. Shout out to Keegan McCorkle in that St. John's River game. But I talked to Maddie on Saturday. I said, hey, how did it feel to get in the circle? She was like, it felt pretty good. I liked what I did. But close the book on all of those, and we look forward to this upcoming week. We talked about it a little bit last week, but now we know, I think, a little bit more about the Lady Bengals of LSU Eunice. They're going to come in here. They've played a couple of teams in our conference, a couple of teams that we think are going to be front runners, going to be right up there in the top with us, and they split with both of them. But what are we expecting out of the Lady Bengals when they come here to Weston and play on Wednesday?
I think they're going to be hungry for a win, for sure. You know, they're scrappy. They swing it well. They bunt, they slap. They're going to try to make some things happen. We just got to stay in our game, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I think at least 3 out of the 4 games that they played against Southern MAC opponents have all been 1-run games as well, too, or 1 or 2-run games. So that just shows you how scrappy they're going to be. And then we turn to the most important part of the season. Not saying everything before this hasn't been important, but everything starting on Saturday is the most important because that all counts, and it's conference play. You're going to open up on the road at Coahoma. What do we know about that bunch going up there on Saturday? I know a game right now that is scheduled for Saturday could potentially be moved to Friday because of some weather, but what do we know about them going into that one?
You know, it's conference. That's what we know. You know, conference games cannot be taken lightly. We can never go to a game and think, oh, we got it. Again, like I said, we have to play. You got to bring your best game every time. And conference games, there's 28 of them. You can't slip up on any of them. You got to bring it every single game, and that's the game plan.
And obviously, MACC foe is going to be really aiming for the Lady Wolves after going 27-1 last year in conference play. And next week, we will not have our coaches show because it will be spring break, so we'll go ahead and let you know the Lady Wolves will host Meridian and Mississippi Delta in conference play as well, too. Meridian coming here on Tuesday, Mississippi Delta on Saturday. We'll talk with Coach about those after spring break, but that'll wrap up our softball segment for this week. Lots of exciting and fun things happening for the Lady Wolves. They go 5-1, drop their very first one on the week to Baton Rouge, 9-8 in extras, turn around, beat them 12-2. 4 more run rules games after that. Chipola 9-1 and 14-3 wins for the Lady Wolves. Lansing 11-0, 11-3 wins for the Lady Wolves. They will host LSU Eunice on Wednesday at 3-5. Go on the road to Coahoma to start conference play on Saturday. Right now, scheduled for Saturday. Could be Friday. We'll let you know on socials when we have that available. 1-3 start times there. 3-5 on Tuesday, March 10th for Meridian, and then 1-3 for Saturday, March 14th against the Lady Trojans. Coach, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks. We look forward to it, and hopefully we're talking about 8 Lady Wolves wins there.
That's right.
So again, that'll wrap up our segment for softball. Stick with us through the break. Coach Flessner in baseball joining us after this.
When you give to the Co-Lin Foundation, your support directly benefits Co-Lin students, faculty, and staff. Whether it's by providing scholarships for students, professional development opportunities for faculty and staff, or technology and campus upgrades, we need your support. Giving to Co-Lin offers the best value for your money as a donor. With low administrative spending and overhead, we can use your donations in tangible ways that benefit students right now. Join us as we back the pack by giving today.
Welcome back in. Thanks for joining us for our final segment of this week's show. Joining me, as always, is our head baseball coach, Kyle Flessner. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Appreciate you having me.
Coach, obviously, since the last time we talked, you've played 4. You've gone 3-1 in those. And really, I think we could say the loss, Co-Lin beat Co-Lin more than the opponent beating us. But you look at it, you started with a road doubleheader in a 3-way against Hines and Southwest. You beat Hines 14-1. You dropped the nightcap against Southwest 10-9 in extras. Want to put that qualifier out there, make sure people know we played extra innings. But first, we'll talk about that 14-1 win. Just a great job all around and a great way to start the week for the Wolves.
Yeah, it was a really good job with our guys just coming out ready to play. Wes, really good outing on the bump again. And then overall throughout the lineup, it seemed like everybody was able to produce one way or another. Trey Davidson, we just got to start calling this Trey Davidson show, I guess. And then a lot of other guys as well. It was really good to see that fight and then be able to play downhill. That's what we always try to do with our guys.
You scored 3 in the first, 4 in the second, 3 in the fourth, 4 in the fifth. That was 14 for us. They scored their lone unearned run in the second. That made it 14-1. You look at the individual lines. We talked about Trey Davidson being the big line. Trey had a 3-run home run I think I put in the write up. He ambushed and demolished the pitch. First pitch he saw, he didn't waste any time and put it. And I think if the trees had not been there, it still would be going now. He caught 4 RBIs in this one because he also later in the game. I've told several people this. I don't think I've ever seen this happen before since I've been involved with the MAC and junior college baseball. Trey got an intentional walk with the bases loaded. I told you at the game, I said that would be the easiest RBI he ever gets in his career. Not something you usually see at our level, but that's where his 4th RBI came from. Bryson Jones with a couple hits in this one as well too. John Mark Grissom and Evan Holyfield both with big games. They both went 3 for 3. John Mark also had 4 RBIs, so his bat came alive for you in this one as well too. Your other hit came from Bradley Hanlon. He also had 3 RBIs in this one as well too. So 14 runs, 11 hits, 12 RBIs. Great day offensively. You mentioned just a minute ago, even better performance on the mound from Wes White. 5 innings, just pure domination. Gave up an unearned run, 3 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. And, I told people, I said, I think Hines could have had another 10 innings against him, and I still don't think they'd get much more hits off of him.
He was just anything he wanted to do on the mound, he could. And with us being able to continue to add on and add on and add on, and ultimately turn it into a run rule game, that really helped us out with pitching because Wes only had to go 5 innings, and then we were able to save the rest for the rest of the day, and that puts us in a really good position. So.
Yeah, and then unfortunately we got to talk about the second game there, the nightcap. This is when you dropped 10-9 again in extras, and you jumped out to such a big lead, and maybe that's what kind of caused it. You told me you felt like the team kind of got a little complacent in this one. We threw it around a little bit. I think the thing that stings the most is you look at it, they scored 10 runs, only 5 of those were earned. So, the stats really say, again, the Wolves did more to beat themselves than the opposition did. You give credit to Southwest because they put the ball in play, but your thoughts overall on this one?
Ultimately, it just wasn't a very well-played game in general, not by us, not by them by any means. I'm sure if you ask Coach Edmondson, he's probably not very happy with how they played throughout the whole game either. I'm sure he's happy with the finish, but there's a lot of things that both teams I thought needed to clean up. I mean, if you look at the line score, it's for us, K to walks was 15-5. That's really not a bad line right there, and they walked us 11 times, and so I would have loved to have capitalized more. And like I say, you play downhill when we're up 9-3, and we have all the momentum going our way. We got to make sure it stays that way. Don't let them have a breath, which is not ultimately what happened. So
they jumped out to a lead, scored 2 in the bottom of the first. We responded with 4 in the second. They scored 1 in the third. We scored 5 in the fifth. That made it 9-3 at that point. You just mentioned they scored 1 in the fifth, 2 in the 6th, 3 in the 8th, and then ultimately that 1 in the 10th walk-off, a wild pitch there at the end to secure that one. A couple of hits. You had 7 hits in this one, 2 hits each from Evan Holyfield and Bryson Jones. Bryson going 4 for 8 on the day, Evan going 5 for 8. Really good days for them. Bradley Hanlon had a hit, as well as Matthew Combs, Hayes Hebert. Hayes Hebert had a huge double that kind of felt like maybe it swung some momentum as well too, because he gets a leadoff double. You get that runner, you bring in a pinch runner, you get that runner to third, and then you can't get that run in, and it just kind of felt like that sucked all the momentum away from us.
That one I'm probably looking to wear myself more than anything. Hindsight's always 20/20. You think, well, what are the odds we strike out here? But they did a good job. They brought in a guy that had a really good put-away pitch, and that's got to be a job for me to say, hey, we got to find some way to get this ball in play, whether it be drop a bunt down, just find any way to get that run in. I thought there are a few different calls that I thought I made that I would definitely take back, but, you live and you learn, and we'll have another shot to go out there.
Yep.
So.
And you look at the pitching lines in this one, and I would argue not bad lines from any of your guys. Cam Patterson got the start in this one. CPAT gave you 5 innings. He gave up 6 runs. Only 2 of those were earned. 4 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. So that kind of shows you there was the big difference. We just didn't play good defense behind Cam for his appearance in this one. Lucian Walker gave you 2 innings of scoreless relief. Only gave up 1 hit, had 1 walk and 3 strikeouts. Thought he did a really good job for you. Nash Sturdivant took the hard luck loss, and this one gave you 2 2/3. Gave up 4 runs. 3 of those were earned on 2 hits, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts from Nash. So between Nash and Cam and CPAT, you get 12 strikeouts, 12 of your 15. And again, Lucian giving you 3. You mentioned it though, 15-5 strikeout to walk ratio. Everything in this game says Co-Lin should have won it, except for the scoreline.
Yeah, and, that's baseball. It's going to happen that way sometimes, and who it's against, it's always going to sting a little bit more. I think I probably laid in the bed and stared at the ceiling for the next 4 hours until I had to get up. But you live and you learn. The sun came up the next day, and we were able to finish out the week pretty strong.
The good news is the sun came up the next day. It came up the next day after that, and we got to play some more baseball. And that one, you got an 11-5 win over a Wren Lake team who, they came in and they were up to the challenge. I felt like they scored 3 runs in the first inning, and you had to dig yourselves out of a hole. But I thought the guys did good. Responded to that adversity, finding a way to win this one. But your thoughts overall on it?
It was a shaky start. Kavion Griffith got hit around a little bit and then had some hit batters and walks and some bad spots, and he was able to settle in and get us going deeper into the ball game, and ultimately that let our guys know, okay, hey, we're good. Responding with that 4 spot right in the first inning as well, I think we knew that, hey, we're where we want to be. We just have to not press, don't panic, and then go back to what we do well. And then towards the end of the game, I thought we were able to stack more runs on top of it, just kind of make it more comfortable, and that just ended up being the game for us right there.
Like I mentioned, they scored 1 in the first. We scored 4 in the first. Probably could have been a little bit more. There was a home run that wasn't called a home run in that inning by Trey Davidson. Unfortunately, that's, again, as we talked, that's just baseball sometimes. Human error is part of the game, and we had to accept that. A run in the second for them made it tied 4-4. It stayed that way till we scored 2 in the 5th. We scored 1 in the 4th. They scored 1 in the 8th. We responded with 4. I believe those 4. That was the grand slam by Avery Griffin, a ball that he got every bit of, and it just kept carrying out to right field. I told everybody after the game, I said, I think I'm going to take a little credit for that one, because I said, wouldn't it be something if Avery got his grand slam right here before Trey got a chance to get another one? And sure enough, about the second pitch of that at bat, he took it yard. But a good day for Avery. He went 3 for 3 with 4 RBIs, 2 hits from Bryson Jones, Trey Davidson, Bradley Hanlon, Donovan Moore, a hit from John Mark Grissom as well too. That's where your 12 hits came from. So the top half of your lineup really produced for you in this one.
No, it was huge. They put together a lot more competitive at bats. That was one of the focus points that we wanted to really finish off our week with, and just not ever be an easy out. If we ever get 2 outs to start the inning's not over, and don't find a way to make it easy on the other team at all. And Avery, like I said, the bat's finally coming through. He's been hitting it hard all year, and the numbers are finally able to help him out a little bit.
And you look at the pitching lines. You mentioned a second ago, Kavion Griffith got the start for you, got a no decision, 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 4 runs, all of them earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. I think outside of that first inning, everything else was really, really good for Kavion. Topped out, hit over 90 a few times on the mound as well too. So for a kid who's a walk-on, that's a pretty good walk-on for the Wolves.
Absolutely.
MT Breland gets his first career win, gave you 2 innings of hitless, scoreless relief with a walk. Little bit of a statistical oddball. Jennings Kimbrell gets a save in this one, and I think people at home will go scratch. How did he get a save in an 11-5 ball game? It was 8-5 when he came in, so it was a 3-run game, and he pitched 3 innings. He qualified both ways. For those of you who don't know at home, scoring purposes, if a pitcher pitches 3 innings and closes out a game, you get a save for it. It's weird, but it is what it is. 3 innings out of Jennings, 1 run. It was a home run that he gave up, ironically, in the second inning that he pitched. I told somebody, I said, if he strikes out the next 3, it's really going to become a pattern at this point. But he did get the next 3 out after that. They weren't all strikeouts, though. 2 strikeouts for Jennings in this one. Great outings from all your pitchers.
Yeah, once AG was able to settle in, once he gets to be as confident as anybody else, he's going to be really, really fun to watch. And that's what he needs to do right now. He needs to keep struggling a little bit. He needs to keep getting out there, and he's going to learn, and he's going to learn from experience. And so talent is never his issue. Confidence, I just want him to know that he can dominate anybody, and I make sure to let him know that every single time out. MT, you know exactly what you're going to get from him every single time. And I've told him, he's kind of on the same boat as Nash, you're never going to go in a fun situation. It's always going to be a close game. There's always going to be something on the line, and it's an honor to have that job. And then Jennings is Jennings Kimbrell. And it was good for him to be able to get some work in because the way our schedule was lining up. And, we were needing some help on the back end of just having arms that are ready to go. So he was able to help us there. And now we got a fresh start going into Tuesday. He got a little bit of rest. And so we'll have options on ways to use him tomorrow as well. Yeah,
Jennings Kimbrell, as we say, is old reliable Jennings Kimbrell. You know what you're going to get out of him as well too. Then you were able to wrap up the week. You went on the road. You went over and played Coastal Alabama South over in Bay Minette. This was supposed to be a doubleheader. You ended up playing 1 9-inning game. You won it 15-11. I think the one thing in this one that you may be disappointed or most upset in is the fact that going into the 8th inning, this was a 15-5 ball game, and if you get 3 outs, you get to end it early.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, you had to play a full 9, and you gave up 6 in the last 2. But the guys were able to still find a way to win this one.
Well, we don't like to make it just too easy on ourselves now. No, it was a good opportunity to be able to get some guys some work, and I thought it was good that happened to them. And it showed our guys that we have to play all 9. We can't just ever take an inning off. And that was still one of the better games we played all year. We made a tough road trip to a team that's beat some really good teams in our league by a lot, and they know how to score. They're loaded with a ton of talented arms. So to be able to go there and get off the bus and play like that's what we wanted to do, I was very happy with that. We were relentless at the plate, really good on the mound. Co-Lin Weinhofer gave us a good start. Statistically, I don't know what it is. I think he gave up a couple tough hits there, but he did exactly what we needed. I think it was only 1 walk on the game, maybe 6 punch outs with it, and he got us at least through 5, and we were able to hand it off to the bullpen after that.
Yeah, you started off the scoring with a bang. Literally, a 2-run home run from Trey Davidson was how you got the first 2 runs of the game. They scored 1, cut it in half. We responded with a run in the second. Had 5 in the third. They had 3 in the fourth. We had 5 in the fifth. They had 1 in the fifth. We scored 1 in the 7th and in the 8th. They scored 2 in the 8th, 4 in the 9th. One of those 5-run innings for us included a grand slam by John Mark Grissom as well too. So a couple of home runs in this one. You look at the personal line scores, 3 hits each from Trey Davidson, John Mark Grissom. Evan Holyfield as well too had 3 hits. Matthew Combs had 2. Donovan Moore, Bradley Hanlon, Bryson Jones, all with a hit. So again, the top half of that lineup really producing for you. And you and I have talked about it several times. Sometimes that bottom half of the lineup, you wish you get a little more out of them, but sometimes that bottom half of your lineup is the most dangerous part of your lineup. And at times when you need them, they're going to come through for you.
Well, and I'd make a joke with Evan Holyfield all the time. I'd tell him, I said, you're the best 9-hole hitter in the country. Everybody else tries to, just goes from top to bottom. I try to make sure that we're able to produce from every part of it. And I told him, I said, you could be hitting 500 on the year. You're going to stay in that 9-hole just because, hey, it works for us. It helps the team win, and he's fully bought in too. And so that's great to have when you got a lineup that's bought into what their job is. And it's a guy that I think can hurt anybody's feelings on the mound and is going to end up going somewhere really good after here.
So sometimes, there's that theory of that 9-hole hitter works as almost like an extra leadoff hitter because he gets that hit and you're able to pass that baton back off to the top of your lineup, and it really pays off for you at times.
It's just like you're turning over your lineup just quicker every single time.
You look at the pitching lines in this one. You used 6 pitchers in this one. Despite a really strong start from Co-Lin Weinhofer, he got the start, improved to 2-1 with the win. 4 2/3. He gave up 5 runs. 4 of those were earned. 8 hits. 3 of those were home runs. 5 walks, or 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. My bad. I'll fix my phrase in there. Nash Sturtevant came in, and I think we were talking earlier. You said it was nice to give him a moment where maybe it wasn't so high pressure, and he looked like the Nash we're used to seeing. 1 in the 3rd, scoreless, hitless, 2 strikeouts. Jacob Buffalo was probably your most effective reliever, not named Nash Sturtevant in this one. He gave you an inning with a strikeout. Ty Blakeney came in, didn't record an out, gave up 2 runs. 1 of those was earned on 2 walks. Caleb Flynn came in, gave you 2/3 with 2 walks. Lucian Walker came in, and his stat line says he struggled, but 1 1/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, all earned, 2 strikeouts. I don't really want to say that was struggling because they were putting the ball in play.
No.
I think as a coach, you'd rather see it be put in play than a lot of walks.
Yeah, Coastal South, you got to give the credit to them. They've scored all year. That is a very physical lineup. They can leave the yard at any point 1 through 9, and they were stringing hit after hit after hit. And law of averages is going to kick in. They'll stop at some point, and as long as they got to keep earning it, I liked our odds. And so it was good that we were able to give ourselves such a cushion and then be able to get those guys that work that they were really needing. So.
And now we turn our attention to this upcoming week. You've got your final sets of non-conference action coming up. You're going to start with a 3-way coming up this Tuesday. We're going to host 2 of the better teams in the conference. We look forward to having them over here. East Central, Gulf Coast. We're going to welcome Chase Stewart back over here to Weston, a face that some Wolves fans are very familiar with. But first of all, the Wolves are going to play East Central, and if people haven't looked at them, this is a team that's leading the nation in runs scored, but they're also leading the nation in runs allowed.
Yeah.
I think they're averaging something like 15 runs a game.
Yeah.
But what are we expecting out of them? I'm certainly hoping we don't go to Sullivan Field tomorrow and a football game breaks out. But what are we expecting out of the Warriors when they come in here?
No, me and Coach Holloman are still very close. I called him and joked. I said we don't need to be bringing a football game over to Weston. Let's keep it normal. But no, it's a very talented team, and I think both teams we stack up very well with them. We got to see East Central in the fall. Did not get to see Gulf Coast in the fall, but the tradition, speaks for itself over there. And so it's going to be two very fun ball games. It's going to be a lot of schools coming to see our players, their players as well. So it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to feel like playoff baseball, and it's only the beginning of March. And so can't ask for a better opportunity for our guys. I think they want the challenge as well. And so it's going to be a real test to see what we got, and we'll be able to see what two other teams that we expect to be deep in playoff runs to have as well.
Yeah. For those at home, if you're interested in watching those, 12 o'clock between the Wolves and the Warriors and Bulldogs will play each other about 3-ish, and then at about 6, Bulldogs and Wolves will play each other to wrap it up. It'll be a 9-inning game between East Central and Co-Lin, a 7-inning game between Co-Lin and Gulf Coast. I'm not sure if we're having a 9 or 7.
It'll be a 7-inning.
7-inning
game,
in between. And then on Friday and Saturday, we're going to welcome in Parkland College. Right now, it's Friday and Saturday. Weather may get some of that, but for right now, 2 games on Friday at 3 and 5, 1 on Saturday at 7. What do we know about the Cobras coming in?
That's always a personal one for me. That's where I'm from, is Champaign, Illinois. So I'm always welcoming the hometown team, but they're always talented. They're always going to have some really good arms, just grown men in their lineup, it seems like. And they're always playing to get to Enid, Oklahoma. It always comes out to be between them and Heartland in that region, and they get some really good players. And so I'm excited. It's going to be a very difficult week for us, and it's a great test, and I'm extremely excited for it.
And then as we mentioned with Coach Howard during the softball segment, next week is spring break. We won't have a show. We'll go ahead and tell people we start conference play. Everything really matters when you start playing those. You'll go to Meridian and to Delta. Meridian on Wednesday at 3 and 6. Delta on Saturday at 12 and 3. A Meridian team who in the last recent year, they've scored, I think it's something like 50-plus runs, and they've lost 2 of those. The people scratching their heads going, how do you do that? You don't want to get into a lot of the semantics, but 2 more great games coming your way. We won't preview those. We'll just talk about them when we come back in a couple of weeks, and hopefully we're talking about lots of Wolves wins.
Yes.
It looks like a potential for about 9 games before we get to talk to you again. So hopefully we go 9-0 in that stretch.
That'd be a good story to have.
Coach, we look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. That will wrap up our coaches show for this week. And again, no show next week as we're on spring break. So we'll give you a look ahead for everything that's going on for the next couple of weeks. On Tuesday, we've got our 3-way here at Sullivan Field. Co-Lin will host East Central and Gulf Coast at 12 against East Central, at 6 against Gulf Coast. Gulf Coast, East Central will play each other in between that at about 3 o'clock. The Lady Wolves will host LSU Eunice Lady Bengals on Wednesday at 3 and 5. On Thursday, men's tennis and women's tennis are at Meridian. On Friday, tennis is on the road. Throughout most of spring break will be tennis. Baseball will host Parkland on Friday and Saturday. Friday is set for 2 and 5. Saturday is set for noon. Softball will be at Coahoma to open conference play at 1 and 3. Take a breath. We're almost there, folks. I promise. The week of spring break, it gets a little bit lighter. Baseball and softball will both start conference play. Softball will host Meridian on Tuesday, 3 and 5. Baseball will go to Meridian on Wednesday, 3 and 6. Both of them will play Delta on Saturday. Baseball there at 12 and 3. Softball here in Weston at 1 and 3. Tennis is also playing Rust College on March 14th as well too. So that will be fun to watch as well too. If you're a tennis fan, go over to the tennis courts and get to see them play as well too. Again, that'll wrap it up. That was a lot there at the end of the week. We'll give you all the information as we always do on all of our social medias as we have it available. I'm Kevin Kyzar, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.